Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are the Group 2, and we are here to have some discussion about Section 818 and Section 819 of Title 8 of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act under Chapter 4 entitled Stores. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready for our brainstorming today?
Good morning. Yes, we are all ready.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Good morning. What are we going to discuss today?
What a nice question. So for today, we are going to discuss about Section 818 and Section 819 of Title 8 of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act or CMTA under Chapter 4 entitled Stores.
I think this will be so exciting.
Yes, it will be so exciting. Shall we start?
Okay, go. Let's proceed.
Before we proceed on the assigned sections on us, do you have any idea of what is stores?
Stores are retail establishments selling items to the public.
Store is a quantity or supply of something kept for use as needed.
Stores is keep or accumulate something for future use.
Stores is a place where items may be accumulated or writtenly kept.
A store is to keep something while not in use, generally in a place meant for that purpose.
It is a stock or supply reserved for future use.
Stores are goods or supplies that are deposited in a warehouse.
Very good. All your answers are correct. It only means that you have idea about this. We may now proceed on Chapter 4 of Title 8 of the ZMTA. Title 8 is entitled Tax and Duty Deferment, Preference and Exemption. Chapter 4 is entitled Stores. When we say stores, it can be a place or a supply. But in this provision we are going to tackle, stores is goods. Stores are goods or supplies that are reserved and deposited in a store or place where items are kept for future use. It can be used for consumption or to be taken away. Section 818 is entitled Stores for Consumption. Stores for consumption shall include goods intended for use by the passengers and the crew on board vessels, aircrafts, or trains, whether or not sold, and goods necessary for the operation and maintenance of vessels, aircrafts, or trains, including fuel and lubricants, but excluding spare parts and equipment, which are either on board upon arrival or are taken on board during the stay in the customs territory of vessels, aircrafts, or trains used, or intended to be used in international traffic for the transport of persons, for remuneration, or for the industrial or commercial transport of goods, whether or not for remuneration. Section 818 is about stores for consumption. We already defined stores. How about consumption? What do we mean about consumption? Who has an idea about this?
Consumption to prescribe the procedures in the customs clearance of imports covered by goods declaration for consumption through a formal entry.
Consumption is defined as the use of goods and services or buying and using something or how much of something has been used.
Consumption is the act of consuming something.
Consumption is a process or action of consuming or an amount consumed.
All your answers are correct. Yes, when we say consumption, it is the act of consuming or using of goods or any items. As per Section 818, there are two kinds of goods included in stores for consumption. Subsection A states that the goods that is intended for use by the passengers and the crew on board vessels, aircrafts, or trains, whether or not sold. Can you explain or give some idea of subsection A states?
These are the goods that are actually reserved for passengers and crew who are on or inside the vessel, aircraft, or trains. Just for example, food and water. And when there is an emergency, there is a dedicated life vessel or life ring for everyone.
It means all goods that are belong to passengers or crew of the vessels, aircraft, or trains is what we call stores, whether it's for sold or not, like their own baggage for foods and things for their personal use.
It means that the passenger and the crew are intended to load the goods in aircrafts or in trains.
Section 818 subsection A means goods that are intended for the passengers and crews on vessels, aircrafts, or trains for their personal use shall be included in the stores for consumption, whether it is sold or not sold.
It says that whether the goods sold or not, it can be considered in a store consumption.
These are the goods for passenger and crew only while inside the vessel, aircrafts, or trains, whether sold or not.
Goods are intended for the use of passengers, crew on board vessel, aircrafts, or train for personal use, whether it's sold or not sold.
Goods that are mentioned above shall be stored for consumption whether not sold.
Thank you for your answers. So, subsection A states the goods that are intended for use by the passengers and the crew. Maybe these are the goods in the facilities on vessels, aircrafts, or trains. For example, there are comfort rooms in the vessels. Stores consumed in these facilities are water, tissue, sanitizers, and etc. These goods mentioned are goods that are commonly consumed for use intended by the passengers and crews. Like what I have mentioned a while ago, there are two kinds of goods or stores for consumption. Let us now proceed on the other one. Any idea about what is stated in subsection B?
Subsection B states that all the goods that can be used to maintain the good condition of a vessel, aircraft, or trains are also considered as a stores, like fuels and lubricants.
The goods used in operation and maintenance of vessels, aircraft, and trains shall be on board upon arrival.
Subsection B says that these are the goods needed to operate a vessel, aircraft, or land vehicle to transport any cargo or any passengers from one place to another, such as fuel and lubricants which is mentioned above, but spare items that can be boarded on arrival or taken on board while remaining in customs territory that can be used or are yet to be used is not included, just like repairing tools or items.
Customs formalities applicable to stores means all the operations to be carried out by the aircraft or trains, including fuel and lubricants, but excluding spare parts and equipment.
Stores for consumption shall include the goods that is really needed for the operation, maintenance including the equipments that can be used in vessels, aircrafts, or trains.
In subsection B means that there are stores for consumption for the maintenance of vessel, aircrafts, or trains, including fuel and lubricants. These are the important stores on board.
The fuel and lubricants are the goods necessary for the operation and maintenance of vessels, aircrafts, or trains, but spare parts and equipments are excluding on board upon arrival.
The needs for the operation and maintenance of vessel, aircraft, or train shall also be included in store for consumption.
It means that all the goods is necessary for the operation and maintenance of vessels, aircrafts, or trains, including fuel and lubricant for maintaining the goods for consumption, but spare parts and equipment are excluding upon arrival.
Thank you for your answers. So, subsection B states the goods that are needed for the operation and maintenance of the carrier, like fuel and lubricants. But there are exclusions. Those spare parts and equipment that are intended to use for the transport of persons for remuneration. So remuneration means the money paid for service, and in transport of goods whether or not for remuneration. We may now proceed on the last section or provision assigned on us, section 819. Section 819 is entitled Stores to be Taken Away. For purposes of this chapter, stores to be taken away means goods for the sale to the passengers and the crew of vessels, aircrafts, or trains with a view to being landed, which are either on board, upon arrival, or are taken on board during the stay in the customs territory of vessels, aircrafts, or trains use, or intended to be used in international traffic for the transport of persons for remuneration, or for the industrial or commercial transport of goods, whether or not for remuneration. Do you have any idea about this?
Section 819 states that stores to be taken away are the goods that can be sold or sold to passengers or crew inside the vehicle where a vehicle may land. That can happen on board upon the arrival or stay of the vehicle in the customs territory.
Based on my understanding, it means all goods that are belong in store that taken away from customs territory to custom destination is for sale to the passenger or crew of the vessels, aircraft, and trains.
These are the goods that are intended for sale to the passengers and crews with a view to being landed. It can be either on board, upon arrival, or during the stay in the customs territory.
Section 819 means that stores to be taken away are the goods sold to the passenger and crew inside the vessel, aircrafts, or trains upon arrival or during the stay in customs territory.
Section 819 means that the vessels, aircrafts, or train are intended to be used for goods to sell to the passenger or crews.
Section 819. It means that the goods may sail to those passengers, crew of aircrafts and trains that are belong and intended for use in stores to be taken away from the customs territory.
Thank you again for your answers. Section 819 are the stores to be taken away, meaning these are the goods that are for sale to passengers and crew. So these goods are intended for sale while on board upon arrival or taken on board while in the customs territory. We are done with our discussion. Hope you learned a lot from this brainstorming. Thank you for sharing all your ideas about our topic.
Thank you for this kind of brainstorming. Now I gain more knowledge about Section 818 and Section 819. Thank you for more explanation that you discussed here. It's very helpful because anytime we can review backread here if you forgot something about this section.
Thank you very much for your cooperation. God bless you all.